A hero is only ever as good as the villain, and when you're James Bond, you have an entire rogues gallery. Welcome back to another episode of Jamesuary as we are ranking the Bond villains. Remember, there is a link down in the description if you want to do this tier list yourself, and trust me, it is a big one. Essentially, today we have 83 to 84 villains. I know that there's a list out there somewhere that Screen Rant or someone did where they did like over 100 villains and ranking every single villain from big or small. I didn't want to do that because it was too much. To be honest, I actually did it to like two or three villains for a while there from each film, and then I decided that some stick out a little more than others. So I initially did it like that, but now I've gone back and I've pretty much done it to where I took four or five villains from each movie who stood out or had something about them that would a look or a memorability to them overall. So yeah, this is going to be a super long video, definitely. But before we get into it, let's obviously go over the tiers. We have 007's equal. This right here pretty much is 007's equal. He is the big, the bad, the scary. His plans are efficient. He knows what he's doing. He's smart, cunning, knows how to get to Bond. And for the most part, it's his equal to his opposite, the yin and yang. Next, I have Global Menace. These are the ones that are pretty good threat. They're a pretty decent global menace. They have some pretty smart ideas. They know what they're doing. But overall, they kind of just fall short a couple clicks here and there. I don't know what it is about them, but something about them just doesn't work out, or maybe they had like one stupid idea too many, and this is where they'll go. For Campy Chaos, these are the ones that are fun, entertaining, they're campy, they have a few good moments that stick out, but overall, they're kind of just middle of the road. They work for the film that they're in, but they don't really do much else in terms of just being the villain for the movie. Loose cannon, these are the ones that probably have like one good idea and everything else is just stupid. They can be fun and entertaining at times, but sometimes they get on your nerves with just how stupid they can be, or maybe they have something about them that just sticks out like a sore thumb, and you just don't want to really put them any higher when they could have been great. Operation Failed are the ones that are the bottom of the barrel. Nothing redeeming about them, nothing interesting, nothing cool. Whether it's them being a racist stereotype or just something about them is just that's dumb, stupid, it would never work out, or they're just not memorable, the performance wasn't well, I just didn't vibe with it for the most part. That's where they would go here. With this being said, we have a lot of villains to get through and not enough time, so let's go ahead and get started right away. First on this list is a group of villains that I'm kind of cheating a little, but since they don't really stand out much more else other than being a trio literally with their name, I have the Three Blind Mice. And to be honest, I think these guys are some campy fun chaos. They're fun, they're simple, they're little henchmen guys for the first film. They actually kind of won me over in the beginning with that shocking kill and opening, along with that music that they had going. But it kind of gets sad by the end of the film when you realize what kind of film Dr. No is and how slow it is. But they were a great standout, so I'm putting them right there in the middle simply because of just how fun they are. Adolf Hitler from Casino Royale 2006. He basically is a henchman that doesn't stick out too much. He has a nice little look and he has a cool, fun death by the end of the film and that awesome little, you know, house falling apart scene for the movie, but he's basically just here to be the replacement Lashif. I think I'll put him in loose cannon. He's literally just a loose cannon sent out to do a job. Alec Trevelyan, or the former 006 turned evil to me, is just one of those top tier villains. Does it seem a little cliche that the good guy becomes the bad guy? Yeah. But it's Sean Bean doing that role the best possible way that it could be. And I think he works greatly for GoldenEye. So he's definitely going up in 007's equal. He literally is the 006. It would be a crime for me to not put him in 007's equal. Aristotle Christados, I think is how I pronounce him, from For Your Eyes Only. is a fun, decent villain. I think I was more positive on him when I gave my review for the film, but he kind of isn't that memorable like a lot of For Your Eyes Only. I think he gets the job done and he does what he needs to, and he can be some fun. So, yeah, I think I'm going to stick him in campy fun. He feels more like a henchman overall than the actual villain of the film, which is kind of sad. Turek Goldfinger from, well, Goldfinger. This guy, I'm going to put him in Global Menace. Technically, he's not. He's doing a small little crime, but that would ruin America. But hey. Originally, when I watched the film, I didn't care for him as a villain, but as I started to think back to him, there's little moments and little quirks, and I love the fact that he just gets straight to the point. I want you to die, Mr. Bond. Him and Oddjob are just a great pair to be together, and I think his plan is just straightforward and simple. He really is what makes the film in the end overall, I think. Baron Samedi from Live and Let Die is pretty much that guy from the Princess and the Frog Disney animated movie. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. He's fun, he's entertaining, but yeah, I just don't know. He doesn't get a lot to do. I mean, with his look, I think I got to put him in campy fun. I literally actually remember something about him. He has that distinct look. I just wish he was in the movie more, honestly. Blowfest 15 or Christoph Waltz Blowfest. I'm going to put him in loose cannon. He is quite literally the definition of a loose cannon. His entire plot and mission has been to just fuck over Bond because he took away his dad's precious daddy time. Like, I mentioned this in the review, and I'm not going to get too far into it, but the fact that he feels more like a weird villain from an Austin Powers movie is what really puts him down so low because Christoph Waltz is doing such a fantastic job playing this character. And I just feel bad for it every time I'm looking at it. So, yeah, loose cannon. The next one, however, Blowfest 67 from You Only Live Twice, I gotta say, I'm putting up into 007's equal. This is the best version of Blowfield that we first saw on screen, fully on screen, by the way. I'm not counting Blowfest from the other films because what picture would I even use? Would I just say, hey, here's Blowfest from the previous movies? It's Donald Pleasance with an iconic look, an iconic presence, such vile meanness, grit, anger, just something about him always sticks out to me, and I just love that when we get to the end of the film. It feels like the perfect payoff for everything that you sat through. Blowfest 69 from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. I'm going to try and rush through these Blowfields, honestly. He's good. He's not as good as Donald Pleasance. I put him one step lower. I think his plan is kind of stupid and dumb. I never cared for mind controlling people through hypnotism. It just, like, come on, really? Really, we're doing that? I think the guy Terry who plays him is doing a decent job, and he actually looks like he could be Blowfest. Speaking of which, Blowfest 71 from Diamonds Are Forever, you're going in Operation Failed. I don't know what they're doing here. I don't. His look is nothing like the original Blowfest. He feels nothing like the original Blowfest, talks nothing like the original Blowfest, and I don't think the actor is doing that good of a job. Yeah, I just don't vibe with it at all. It's a lot of fun and it's entertaining, but I gotta put it there. There's nothing more I can really say. Blowfest 86 from Never Say Never Again. This is a Blowfest that is a lot of fun, has that look, has that feel, has that vibe. Doesn't really get a lot to do. He only had the one outing and he only really had a couple of scenes and a couple of moments. So I'm going to put him in Campy Fun simply because the fact that he's supposed to just be the villain in the background as like that little henchman or the overhead villain rubbing the cat is a lot of fun, and at least we actually got to see him played by a pretty good actor. Boris Grishenko from GoldenEye is just a lot of fun, bro. Getting what's his name? Oh god, I'm blanking on it. What is it? Alan Cummings, that's what it is. Man, getting him to just be this Russian hacker who's just awesome. I am invincible. It's just so fun to say. It's so catchy. The way he goes out is so fun, and the fact that he just has that look of like being the American Russian, but he's so Russian that he's like, I love the country and everything, and I hate Americans. It's just a lot of fun. Hey, post production Nick here. So, when it comes to these really long tier list videos, something either always messes up with the video or the audio, battery, storage, all that good stuff. So, I forgot to actually say where I'd want it to rank Boris before the memory cut out here. And he's going up into Campy Chaos. He's just that fun and entertaining. I can't really say anything else. Brad Whitaker from The Living Daylights. I gotta be honest, this actor came back again to be a good guy in some of the Pierce Brosnan films, and I really enjoy what he was going for here as this like wacky American war general who's hungry for more money and sells experimental weapons and it's just campy and crazy. And I think his plan overall to sort of pull from different places and work with, these Russians in order to pin both sides against each other, I think it works out pretty great. So he's pretty fun. He's kind of memorable. He has a fun little fight at the end. So I'm going to stick him in Global Menace. Carlos Nicolich from Casino Royale '06. He's just one of those kind of fun little henchmen there. It's interesting. He has a fun fight with Bond, and he ends up having a really fun death in the end, but overall, he's not really super memorable. I thought about putting the other guy that hires him because he's kind of in there, but he's not nearly as fun and entertaining when it comes to seeing the action scene that he has with Bond itself. Overall, it's one of those scenes that really shows this type of bond and really helps to build him and set everything off for the main plot line that we have. He's entertaining, but he is kind of just another henchman, so I think I'm going to stick him in loose cannon. Could have stood out a little bit more. Chang from Moonraker. This guy sticks around for just a little bit, but sadly, we kind of have to cut him from the film because, well, we got to make room for Jaws after all. Don't know why. He's fun. He has a pretty memorable look. I'm going to stick him in loose cannon for now. Claws. This is God, I forgot the actor's name. Charles Dance, that's who it is. This was actually early on before he really took off in some other roles. And he's just another henchman. I literally only chose him just because I was like, hey, it's that actor. I think I'm going to stick him in a loose cannon. He doesn't really do anything to stick out or be kind of memorable. It's just Charles Dance as a henchman along with a lot of the other henchmen in the movie. Looks like we got two back-to-back License to Kill here with Colonel Heckler and Drago. Colonel Heckler, he's just kind of the Colonel guy who's working with our main bad guy. He's not really that memorable. I do like the way that he dies and is killed off. I'll stick him in loose cannon. Drago, however, I'm putting this guy up in 007's equal. It's a young Benicio del Toro, and he just sticks out as like this young, weird, crazy, I'm gonna cut you type of guy, something that like Quentin Tarantino would play in From Dusk Till Dawn type of vibe that we got going there. It's just one of those roles that it's like you gotta put it that high up simply because it's just great. Dominique Green, Operation Failed. I said this in my review. I don't get this movie. I don't get why we spend time with this guy who's trying to buy up both oil and water to control this part of the West. I know that like Quantum is trying to do all these things to gain power and money, but it just seems a lot of stupid bullshit is happening. And Dominique Green himself just feels like a giant nerd who's not intimidating at all. And I just don't care for the guy, honestly. Dr. Julius No, he's a pretty fun, entertaining villain for the first official Bond movie. I'm gonna stick him in Campy Chaos. And look, here's the thing. He's barely in the movie. He has a presence, he has a memorability, he has a certain vibe about him. He's got those claw hands, but the way he dies in the end is just so sudden and kind of, anticlimactic. And the fact that they cast a German actor to be a Chinese person and they actually did like the whole eye thing is something this franchise really needed to stop doing. And it's just one of those things where it's like if we had more of him, I'd put him higher, but we just don't. Dr. Kamunga. I gotta say, I'm sticking him up in Global Menace. Live and Let Die is one of those films that just has some of the top tier villains going for it that really make the movie memorable. Obviously, you have Koto from Alien, which I know I said wrong in my review. I tried to fix it. Played by, he played Parker, obviously. He's just one of those guys who's sort of manipulating everything, playing both sides, tricking people here and there, using all of his different assets to run his drug smuggling ring. And I just think that's really fun and entertaining. He's just a guy simply going out and being like, I'm going to flood the market with my cocaine and I'm going to make money. Electra King from The World Is Not Enough going up in Global Menace. Now, I don't want to put her too high because there's that bit of the movie where it's like she has daddy issues and she's mad at the world and she just wants everyone to die. sort of that grim, dark, emo person, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, get over yourself. But I mean, the best part about, this movie is when she does the whole twist reveal, becomes the bad guy, and the way that she's kind of manipulating everything from above. And I just really enjoy that. She's one of the times where the female villain being a twist is just a standout for a Bond film. Elliot Carver. Oh boy. I know a lot of people seem to have come around to Tomorrow Never Dies. And look, is it ambitious? Does it try and say stuff about the future? I mean, maybe. I think they go a wrong way of doing it. I'm putting him in loose cannon. I just do not care for this guy. I think he's fine as this world ending type who wants to make money off of his news organization. But I think the story that he's in and the plot that he comes up with and the fact that he's so smug about it just is like, bro, this would never work in a million years. But he is played by one of those actors who is just amazing in these roles. It's like when you get Dennis Hopper to be a villain in anything, you know you're going to enjoy it. Elvis from Quantum of Solace. Operation failed. His name is Elvis and he has a bold cut. And he somehow is our main henchman. Fuck Quantum of Solace. Yeah. Emil Lopke, who actually has a longer name than that, but I'm shortening it to that from Your Eyes Only, is a pretty fun little villain, I think, for the most part. He definitely stands out a bit more than our main villain with his glasses and his looks. I know he's a bit of a nerd, but he actually is like quiet, calm, and has a bit of, sort of stick to him for the most part. I think I'm going to stick him up there and can't be fun. Since he is just a henchman, I can't really put him any much higher, but he's definitely one of the better villains, or at least the number one villain from For Your Eyes Only. Emil Largo from Thunderball. I'm sticking this guy up in Global Menace. He's got that cool ass eye patch. He's like number two to Blofeld when it comes to Spectre. And I just love the way that he talks, he presents himself, the way that he just wants to kill Bond and end everything, and the way that he goes about stealing these missions, and the way that he just outright cuts people off and kills them. I'm just absolutely here for it. Eric Kriegler from For Your Eyes Only, I think, is the standout when it comes to the villains in this film, and I'm going to put him in Global Menace. He just edges out all the other villains. He has the iconic blonde hair. He's sort of a super sports Olympic guy, but he's also very cold and cunning. From the minute he shows up, you know he's down to get the business done. And he kind of feels like an equal to Bond for the most of the film, but he's not quite there. Still just a lot of fun, so Global Menace it is. Fama Bush, and actually, you know what? I'll go ahead and do her from Never Say Never Again, and Fiona Vloop. I'll go ahead and put them both in Campy Chaos. They're basically the same character. One is more of a classic femme fatale with Thunderball, and Never Say Never. Fama is more of a wild and out there femme fatale who is just crazy about wanting people to absolutely be in love with her before she kills them. Fun, entertaining roles that I can really vibe with for the most part. Francisco Scaramanga from The Man with the Golden Gun. 007's equal. He is literally designed to be a henchman that wants to go up against 007 because he sees him as his good guy equal. What more can I say? The relationship with him and Nick Nack is pretty fun, and it's Christopher Lee, for crying out loud. This guy has done everything under the sun and is just amazing when what he was doing back in the day. The head honcho from License to Kill, Franz Sanchez, man, 007's equal. What can I say? This guy, he buys people with money, but yet he's all about this whole loyalty thing that he wants people to buy into, but yet he doesn't actually stick to it himself. But yet at the same time, he's a guy that does in our good boy Felix Leiter, and just perfect to see this actor going up against Bond in one of these films, and I just absolutely love it. License to Kill may not be for everyone, but it's definitely for me, and he definitely is a top tier villain in my opinion. General Koskov from The Living Daylights. He's fun, he's entertaining. I actually like that he's the guy going behind the scenes, pulling the strings, coming up with ideas, playing both sides, getting in on some of the action. I'm gonna put him pretty much in Global Menace with Brad Whitaker. I think that's just a trio that's like a winning team in that movie with their main muscle, he's the brains, and then, the weapons guy is Brad for the most part. General Mandrano from Quantum of Solace. I'm actually going to stick him in loose cannon. I don't really think he can go up and do campy fun with the type of villain that he is, But, for the most part, the best thing about Quantum, I think, was our main Bond girl and her quest to get revenge and kill this bad guy for how egregiously bad he is. And, he's a means to an end. It's very satisfying, but I think the actor does a great job, and it's a role that I can actually find believable for the most part. General Orliv from Octopussy, operation failed. What are you doing? What are you doing? You want to cause World War III, but you're using the circus, these guys that work with Octopussy, all of this weird shipping stuff, trying to set off a bomb to kill a president who's at the circus, this weird egg thing that comes into play. I don't understand this guy. He's barely in the movie. You could cut him out entirely, and you would still have probably a better entertaining movie with just Octopussy and the bad guys who play Octopussy in order to get back at James Bond, or however you want to set the movie up. General Aramob from GoldenEye is a pretty fun, entertaining little henchman who's playing the Russians in order to help out our main trio bad guys. He doesn't ever quite get there to be part of that trio, I think. But, he's helped set everything off. He helps pretends to kill 006, and I think he's a pretty chill guy. So I'm going to stick him up in Campy Chaos for the most part. Gobinda from Octopussy, he's a pretty fun henchman. I'm not sure if it's a racial stereotype. I think he's played by someone who is of Indian descent. He's actually very threatening. I love the look that he gives on how much he hates Bond. And there's just something fun about that duo with him and Khan, and we'll get to him later in Octopussy. So yeah, I'm gonna stick him up in Loose Cannon. He never quite gets there to being more campy fun, other than just look at me, I'm the bad guy. Greg Bean from Quantum of Solace. Operation failed. I I don't know what they were trying here. Now look, it's Hopper from Stranger Things, so that's pretty fun and entertaining that, he is that bad guy. I don't even remember him. I don't even remember what he was trying to do. So he's got to go at the bottom there. Gunter from On Her Majesty's Secret Service. This is basically the main big silent henchman guy for this film. And, he's entertaining. I don't think he really gets enough. He barely speaks, but I think he was basically a stunt guy who came in and did his own stunts, so he got rewarded with a small little role. So I'm gonna stick him in Loose Cannon. He's pretty fun and entertaining. Gustav Graves or Tangsun Moon. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I could be wrong. Anyways, Gustav here. As much as I hate Die Another Day, I will give it credit that with Gustav there is something fun and entertaining about this guy that you could just sit back and watch him with this robotic armor and his sky beam just chewing up the scenery. So I'm not going to go much higher than Campy Chaos, and that's me being generous, honestly. Hans from You Only Live Twice. He's basically the blonde-haired white guy who's the henchman for Blowfest in the film. I guess you could probably swap in him and that the Japanese villain who is working for Blowfest as well. They're both not really that memorable. Yeah, I'm gonna stick him in Operation Failed. Hegla Brandt from the same film as Hans, You Only Live Twice. She's fun, she's entertaining. I'm not really sure where I would want to place her, to be honest, because she's a femme fatale for a little bit, but she's not in the movie for long. She's kind of like a poor man's Fiona Vloop, so I think I'm gonna stick her up in Loose Cannon. Yeah, yeah, that feels right to me for now. Henry Gupta from Tomorrow Never Dies. He's basically the scientist who makes all of the stuff happen for our main bad guys. And, he doesn't get a lot to do. He doesn't get a lot to say. He's killed off very quickly and unabruptly by the end of the film. I'm going to stick him up in Loose Cannon. He's just another one of those guys who's basically there just to move the plot along. Hugo Drax, Operation Failed. I absolutely hate this guy. He wants to start a supermaster race by building a international space station that no one seems to be able to find. Somehow no one can just see it up there, I guess, even with just a simple telescope. I think his plan and his plot to do what he has to do is just completely stupid. I also just hate the fact that he's just this slimy idiot who thinks he's the best of everything, but he's really just dumb and stupid. Irma Bunt from On Her Majesty's Secret Service is one character who originally doesn't really stand out that much. By the end of the film, she completely wins you over, especially with the fact of what she actually ends up doing. is just kind of iconic in and of itself, and she's a pretty nice little older femme fatale, so I'm gonna stick her up in Global Menace simply on the fact that what she did by the end of the film is very potent. Jaws is the epitome of campy fun, whether it's him in Moonraker or The Spy Who Loved Me. I gotta stick him up. I gotta stick him here. Yeah, I gotta stick him in Campy Chaos. It's literally the whole teeth thing. That's the only thing about it. Is like he's this guy with these mega teeth. So yeah, Jimmy Bond. This is the main villain, or I guess Doctor Noah, if you want to call him. But this is the main villain for Casino Royale '67. Operation failed. Uh, do I need to say more? Like it's Woody Allen doing Woody Allen. Kamal Khan, I'm I actually really like him. I don't care for the plot and everything that it goes on, but I'm going to stick him up in Global Menace simply for the fact that I think the actor is doing terrific. I think he's taking the material very seriously, which I love. He just works great against Bond. He always gives that look of like, why won't this guy just die? And I love that he's basically just in it for the money and he wants to take out Bond simply because he's getting too close to Octopussy, which I kind of really enjoy. Carl Stormberg. He is a pretty fun, entertaining villain, though I don't know if I want to stick him up in Global Menace. Though I do like his plot, and I feel like he's a better version of what Hugo Drax is trying to go for. I love his whole thing about the sea and not really caring too much for human life. I think it's pretty fun when you take the whole idea of the activists as like trying to say one part of the world is better than the other, and I'm completely for going with that. I mean, at the end of the day, at least you know what he's actually trying to do and why he's doing it. So yeah, I think I will give him that global menace spot for the most part. Kronstein from Russia with Love. I swear I gotta find a better way to start saying that title. I'm gonna stick him up in Campy Chaos. He is fun for the fact that he's this super genius who thinks his plan's gonna go right, but he's not in the movie too much, and obviously it being Bond, his plan doesn't go right. But he does stand out, and he is kind of memorable as one of those super genius for the film. All right, so now we're pretty much getting into all three of the Le Chiffres from their respective films. For '06, I'm going to give it to 007's Equal. I mean, it's Mads Mikkelsen as a Bond villain for crying out loud. The character is really simple in the fact that he's just trying to get his money back so that he can keep himself alive, which creates a scenario where you actually kind of feel bad for the guy since he's just trying to survive. Through all this, with the things that he does and the action he takes, he just becomes a very memorable villain for the movie. The Chief 56, campy comedy, there's not much to say when it comes to that 54 Bond film. Peter Lorre is very entertaining in the role, but for the most part, with it being 50 minutes, he just doesn't get a lot to do, which is very sad. Le Chiffre 67, I'm going to give him loose cannon status. It's fun for Casino 67 to see what Orson Welles is trying to go for, and a lot of it that he put into himself just to have fun with the role. Like most of that movie, I just don't care for any of it. It doesn't make me laugh, but it is fun to see what could have been if this was a more serious role with him in the role. Logan Ash from No Time to Die, I'm going to stick him in Campy Chaos. He's a lot of fun, but he's really just there to sort of have another plot point with Felix Leiter and give a bit of a revenge arc. But the actor's doing a good job and he's having a lot of fun with it, so yeah, I'll give him points for that. Litstifer Staffen from the same movie, No Time to Die. Loose cannon. He has a fun revenge arc. I like that it seems like he's going to be a unique, different villain, and Rami Malek is doing a very good job. But by the end of the movie, he just becomes another mustache twirling, world dominating, destroying type villain, and I just don't care for it. That just does not seem like the type of turn that character would take by the end of the film. Max Denby, or C from Spectre, is a lot of fun as like this political villain that M has to face off against. I think the actor is having a lot of fun in the role, and for the most part, I'm gonna just stick him up in Campy Chaos. Max Zorin from A View to a Kill is also going up in Campy Chaos. I think it's a lot of fun to see this type of character and Christopher Walken's in the role, but he doesn't really leave an impact for the most part. He's basically just this psychopath with a lot of money who has a plan that isn't really that smart for the most part when it comes to being capitalism and all that. But hey, it's Christopher Walken, so obviously I'm going to set it a little higher. Maximilian Largo from Never Say Never Again, Loose Cannon. I think he is a poor man version of the original Largo, and I just don't think he's as fun and entertaining. I guess technically, from the pure standpoint that he is wild and out there and just has a lot of fun, goofy moments, he is entertaining. For this type of story, I like to see a bit more of a serious villain, and he's definitely not that. Mayday, I'm actually going to give her the edge when it comes to A View to the Kill because I like her little payoff by the end, and I think the actress wins me over with what she does. I definitely think people don't give her enough credit, and it's surely showing. Milton Kress from License to Kill is going up in Campy Chaos. He is literally just one of those bad guys who's like, money. And I like the way that he dies in the end very much. Miranda Frost from Die Another Day is one of those villains who's very fun and entertaining when she first starts out, but then becomes off the rails by the time the film comes to a close. I gotta just stick her in Loose Cannon because at some point the actress herself was just like, I'm gonna be crazy. Mishka and Glishka from Octopussy. These are two guys that I'm kind of putting them together. I think I'm going to stick them in Loose Cannon. They have an iconic look and they have an iconic feel, but I literally thought it was one guy playing both roles because they're never actually on screen together. But no, it's actually two twins who are actually can do cool ass knife tricks and shit. But the movie just kind of wastes them away. Mr. Bullion from The World Is Not Enough. He's a loose cannon. He never becomes quite as memorable. He kind of is just a little rat off to the side. Does actually set off a bomb that does cause a lot of problems. So, hey. Mr. Hinks Batista can't be chaos. He gets one line in the movie. He's there to just look big, bad, and tough. What more can you say? I'm putting him there. Mr. Kid from Diamonds Are Forever, one half of the worst stereotype ever, the homophobic gay couple who are just weird, creepy, psychotic bad guys. Yeah, I'm putting him in Operation Failed. I don't care for this at all. Mr. Azato from You Only Live Twice. Hey, what do you know? Looks like I did have him on here. I totally forgot. So, with that being said, he's going in Loose Cannon because I think he's just a guy who provides money to Blowfest in order to accomplish all of the space stuff going on in the film. Mr. White. No, not that one. He starts off very fun and entertaining, but the way that he's used by the time we get to Spectre, I think just kind of puts him short of Global Menace. So I'm going to put him in the campy fun category or the campy chaos. He kind of is just that chaotic guy. Really wish they would have done more with him, but I guess Quantum of Solace kind of squashed that for a bit. Mr. Wint, the other half of the gay couple from Diamonds Are Forever, he's going into Operation Fails. Though I think I would put him higher over his partner simply because he has a bit more of a sinister laugh that I kind of got a kick out of, but that's about it. Necros from the Living Daylights. I'm going to be honest in saying that I'm going to put him also up into Global Menace. This trio of bad guys and him as the muscle, it's just so fun. The way that he's like cold, calculating, and he buys his time until the perfect moment to strike. I also love the way that he dies in the end, and he definitely feels like a hitman who feels like a more modern day one that could actually get the job done. Nick Nack, I'm putting this guy up in Global Menace as well. Look, I know it's weird, but the duo that we have going with him and Scamander, I just love how loyal he is to him all the way till the end, and I respect it very much. Plus, I don't remember that actor's name, but he definitely deserves more than I think a lot of people give him credit for. Odd Job from Goldfinger, 007's equal. They have a great fight, a great banter, and the fact that Odd Job inspired so much with like maybe the Mortal Kombat character and is just a standout villain for that movie. Definitely one of those iconic highlights that I think people really love Goldfinger for. Primo from No Time to Die. Loose cannon. He is not bad, more so than the fact that I don't think he's as fun or as memorable as like Logan Ash. He kind of just has a weird eye for plot reasons, and then he just switches sides to the newest guy in town that pays him more, and then he just dies. So that's about it. Raul Silva from Skyfall, which, if I'm correct, is actually the only villain on here. Like he's the only villain from his respective movie to be on here. There is no other villain in Skyfall that I chose because no one else really stood out. And the movie is designed to be that way with him as the villain. I gotta say, he's going in 007's equal. I mean, Javier Bardem in this role, his backstory, the whole mouth jaw scene, everything with him, it's just perfection. It's perfect cinema. It's perfect filmmaking. And it's going up there. Right along with that, we have Red Grant from Russia with Love. And oh man, I for the life of me keep calling him the blonde evil Bond, which is pretty much what he is. He is designed by Spectre to be that evil bad guy who is the exact opposite of Bond. And I love how like he's actually working and doing the work to put into, sort of undercut Bond at his worst moment. At the same time, they have that epic, awesome fight scene that just feels so intense and very much works for me. Richard Stamper from Tomorrow Never Dies. I've been a little bit low on them. I'm going to give this one a high one. I think he just barely edges out to Global Menace in terms of a fun henchman. He has very memorable moments, very memorable lines. He stands out. He's very cutting and evil. And I love the way he dies in the end. RJ Dent from the original Doctor No, I'm going to stick him up in Loose Cannon. He is very fun and entertaining, but hey, so post production Nick here again. Looks like the audio kind of cut out during the recording for these last two here. For the most part, RJ Dent is a fine little henchman guy who doesn't want to be in the role but is kind of forced to. I like the way that he dies in the end, but overall, I think I just stick him in Campy Chaos because at least he is someone around in Doctor No to be more of a threat for a little bit. Rosa Kep is one of those villains from Russia with Love who is just kind of iconic. She stands out for being that mean old femme fatale, sort of like Irma Blunt. I think that whole fight that she has at the end with Bond and Tanya is just very iconic and fun. She sticks out very memorably for the entire film, just like Red Grant. So I'm going to stick her in Global Menace. Sander from The Spy Who Loved Me is a pretty fun, creative villain for the most part. He doesn't really get to do much before he ends up getting killed. He does get a funny, quick line, and he does have a pretty cool look, so I guess for that I'll stick him in Campy Chaos. Scarpine from A View to a Kill. He's a pretty fun henchman for the most part. It's weird he outlives the main villain, Max Zorin, so I think I'll stick him in Loose Cannon. I don't really remember anything else about him. Zal from Die Another Day. He's pretty fun, he's pretty entertaining. He has an iconic look with like the diamonds in his face, though he gets the weird bald cut, so I don't know what's with that, but I'll stick him in Campy Fun. He has a fun little car chase for the most part. It's way over the top, but hey, it's fun for Die Another Day, I guess. Teehee from Live and Let Die is going up in Global Menace. This guy just oozes that cool factor with his claw arm, and he has a pretty fun laugh, and he has a couple of good lines, and he's kind of just a real menace for Bond at the end of the film. So, yeah, he's definitely going high up there. Truman Lodge from License to Kill is another one of those guys who's just kind of around in the pack when it comes to that whole mafia that we have going with all the different characters. He's basically the smart, quirky businessman that's all about how do we make the most money, trying to win people over and sell the products. He's pretty fun, but I don't think he stands out too much when it comes to the rest of the villains in the movie, so loose cannon it is. Valdo Orvachev from No Time to Die. Basically, this is the mad scientist doctor guy who makes the Hercules device. I'm going to stick him up in Campy Fun. I think he's designed to be like that weird, creepy doctor who's kind of a dumbass, kind of also mean, but also racist at the same time. So the way that he gets his comeuppance is pretty fun and entertaining. But I think he's just a lot of fun. He's there to add like a little bit of a comedic bit and flavor to everything. So Campy Chaos sounds perfectly good. Victor Zygos from The World Is Not Enough. I think this is actually one of the better villains in the franchise. I do love that he is a bit more serious and he takes himself serious. He's just a fun terrorist played by an actor who's doing a really good job. I just think it gets a little too depressing with the fact that he wants to die and he wants to kill everyone. He wants to set off the bomb. He's got the bullet in his head, and we get to see all of his trauma brought out on screen. It gets to a point to where you almost can't take it seriously how dramatic and over the top he is with "I'm going to die." I think for that I'm putting him in Campy Chaos because it's a little fun and entertaining, but I think Electra King's a little better out of the two. And last and most certainly not least, we have Xenia Onyatop from GoldenEye. She's going up in 007's Equal. I absolutely love what they do with this character. I love that she's like an assassiness who loves the kill and the thrill of it all and is just out to help kill everything. But she's got like this weird sexual perverted nature about her, and I just love the fact that she has this like ability to crush people. But she's also a very threatening villain every time she shows up. She handles herself well, and she's really good at taking down Bond and knowing how to get to him. Half of our X-Men cast that we have here as villains is a lot of fun, and she brings just as much camp and fun with that as well. And so yeah, she goes up all the way up into that S tier. 007's Equal. So looking over this is a lot of villains. I'm not going to go through and do the whole like, oh, should I move this one or whatever. I think it's fine. I got like my top 10 up there that I want. I got like my bottom 10 that I don't care for. And everyone else is kind of in the middle there at different levels. I think it works. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun. The best part about a Bond movie, even if it's like a super bad one, is to see how fun and campy and wild the villain can go. Even those all the way at the bottom here, minus like a couple, are still fun and entertaining, and I can get a pretty good kick out of them for the most part. James Bond is only ever really as good as his equal, and I'm glad to have gone through this spy series to really notice the fact that some of these villains are just that good. But that's it for now. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed this mega tier list of all of these Bond villains. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to keep up to date with everything coming out of Gear Up Productions and Jamesuary. Please feel free to like, share, get the video out there, comment what you thought of the video, who's your favorite villain, all that good stuff. I also still have that link in the description if you want to do your own epic mega tier list of all the Bond villains. I'd love to see what you say. If this is your first time checking out my channel, go ahead and check out the Jamesuary playlist to catch up on all the reviews and the rankings so far. If you're looking for something a little different, I let YouTube kind of pick and see what the best video is out there, so go ahead and give that a watch to see if you really like the channel. We're in the final stretch, only 2 days left, and I'm feeling Bond-tastic. I guess it's a good thing that tomorrow we're checking out the actors. Stay tuned. Gear up and gear out.